Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Momentum Velocity Club Inside Scoop series. If it's your first time with us, where have you been? Velocity Club helps professionals like yourself achieve their success through personalized financial advice. If you are joining us from another episode or you're part of the Velocity Club community, then welcome back. And please make sure that you make our guests feel welcome in the comment section. So let's be real. 2020 has had a major impact on all of us in a number of different ways. Our work environments have changed, and striking the right work-life balance has become more important now than ever before. And this has become important in making sure that we stay healthy and sane. But how do we do that? Is striking a balance even possible, and what does it entail? Joining us today to unpack this is none other than Olwethu Leshabane. She is a media personality, an entrepreneur, an author, a storyteller, a mom, a wife, first princess of Miss South Africa. I can go on and on and on. She is all of this at the age of 29. And she's here to unpack the art of balance and how we can maintain this. Welcome, Olwethu.
Thank you. I'm 30 now. I just turned 30.
Oh, yay!
So, yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure. Guys, you know that we love engaging with you and we love speaking to you. So please make sure that you post your questions, your thoughts, and your comments in the conversation as we unpack this topic. So, Olwethu, happy Women's Month, first and foremost.
Thank you. I don't know if it's happy yet, but I'm hopeful that one day it will be a happy one for the women of South Africa.
I'm actually very interested to hear how you want to unpack that response. How are you feeling? Maybe you can tell us there.
I really don't know. I'm so indifferent about Women's Month. I think in the past, we were always so hopeful and looking forward to Women's Month and looking forward to say Happy Women's Month to each other. But I think we're in 2020, and when we look at the stats, we look at how women are vying, we look at how women are climbing the corporate ladder, and we want to be hopeful, but hope tends to be dampened by how real the issues are around us, and also how it seems like corporates know what the issues are, right? But is there enough being done to address issues of women within the workspaces, in life, the gender-based violence? I don't know, but we have hope.
Wow. Very, very, very interesting introduction. And I love how passionate you are about women, about society, about what's happening, and most importantly, what can be done, right? Because if we want to see change, then things need to change. Absolutely. And there's no one to do that except us, which are the people who can actually influence it. So we know you as a public figure. You've been kind enough to let us into your life. Let us be involved in the different decisions that you take and your life as a whole, as a family, and everything else that you're involved in. But I'm always intrigued at hearing someone describe themselves. So we know Olwethu, or at least we think we do, but how would you define yourself as an individual?
Wow. How would I define myself as an individual? Very hard to. I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a sister, I'm a daughter. I'm a daughter-in-love. I've got a friend of mine, I know she's watching the webinar right now, she'd say, don't say daughter-in-law, you're a daughter-in-love. So I'm a sister-in-love. I am, and I'm a woman for women. I love being around women, talking to women, and really trying to find solutions around the emancipation of women and being able to just grow and climb as women together. But yeah, who am I? I'm going to go back to my background. I was born in PE, grew up all across South Africa. My dad worked for an SOE, so he used to get transferred quite a lot around the country. And so I think in me, I taught myself and I learned this ability to be a chameleon, to get into spaces and to get into spaces and be and make friends and constantly change and evolve. And I remember in this experience of growing up and becoming and being this chameleon, one of the big things that I also learned how to do is adapt, is to change so I would find ways in which I will alter certain things about myself, which is so funny. So when you get to a new space, you're like, what did I like about the Olwethu before when we were living in Polokwane? So how can I change a certain aspect of what I did not like about that Olwethu and become somebody better as we were moving to Pretoria with the family? So that became, kind of me always evaluating what better can I do? How better can I become? How can I change for the better? And I've really taken that on growing up. When we moved to Pretoria, went back to high school in Port Elizabeth, but I came back for matric and varsity. And I was financially excluded when I got to varsity. My parents were going through a separation, and we had a lot of financial issues. And in their separation, a lot of money was lost, a lot, financially, it hit the family quite badly. And I was financially excluded. I wanted to study a BSc in quantity surveying. I mean, I always wanted to be Deborah Patter, but my parents convinced me because I had such good marks that going the sciences route would be, the most superb thing I'd ever do. And I'd be a millionaire by doing so. So I then went to tax and I studied QS. Was financially excluded in my second year. And I decided to change the course to a BCom and had to work to be able to supplement my studies. And I also think that kind of made me grow up very fast. I had to now kind of work to study and have to think on my feet now, to always be thinking about the decisions that I am making and this decision that I am taking. What kind of a financial impact will it make on me? What kind of a financial impact will it have on the long term? What can I sacrifice? So I had to sacrifice a BSc in quantity surveying, which was a 4-year degree, for a 3-year degree in BCom general, and try and just balance that whilst also helping my mom out through the separation. My dad moved back to the Eastern Cape. So it was all these things that were just coming all at once. And I think it really started molding me to become the woman that I am today.
Very, very insightful to know that this is where you come from, and these are the different things that you've actually put in place to make you the person that you are. And I'm glad that you're able to define it. I think us as women need to do that more. Maybe we can unpack it as we go along. So I want you to rewind a bit. I know you spoke a bit about your upbringing and where you come from. Take me to the age of 20. So Olwethu is just 20 years old. And I want to know, where are you? What are you doing? And what's going on in your mind at that point in time?
Sure. 20 for me is like a year I think I can split into half, right? The first part of my 20s, I am living it up. I am working for Urban Degree. I am also working part-time as a promoter. I'm also organizing, I was in a tax at the time, and I'm organizing parties, right? So I was this girl that was like organizing varsity parties and then working at Urban Degree, the clothing store, and living it up, potting up the storm. And I was making good money for my age, to be quite honest. Like I was 20-year-old making quite a bit of money. And the second part of my 20s, I'm pregnant with my first son. And now like reality is just like, okay, cool. Now I need to kind of calm down, and now there's a bigger purpose. So how are you going to make this work, and how are you going to make sure that you're building a legacy for this little human that is inside of you? So that was my 20.
So I know that, well, at least I can imagine that having one child is a challenge on its own, and balancing that with all the desires and the aspirations that you have as an individual and as a woman. Yet you have three beautiful boys that you look after amongst everything else that you do. And a question that I was told to actually ask you, like, please ask Olwethu this, please ask Olwethu this. Is there any advice that you received about motherhood that you have carried with you that has actually helped keep you calm and also focused on what you want to achieve, while making sure, of course, that you're the best thing you can be to these little boys?
Sure. I think there was 2 pieces of advice, all right? The first piece of advice is to do you all the time in everything that you do. Just do you, and you'll get all the advice in the world, but the only advice that you need is to be able to do it your way. do you do it your way. The second piece of advice, I think, is my mother-in-law loves to say, and I always quote my mother-in-law because she has pearls of wisdom. She raised 5 children after her husband had passed away. So she raised 5 children and like got them through school all by herself. And she says, like, dude, you don't need to sweat the small stuff. These people are growing. They're really not going to remember the fact that you blew this much on this birthday party, or you bought them this car on this day. And it's about how you make your children feel. And when you're present, just be present. And so that has always stuck with me when it comes to parenting. It's just do you, and just be present when you are present. They're never going to remember the things you buy for them to replace when you are present.
Wow. So time is important.
Absolutely.
Time is very important. That's the sense. And quality time at
Quality
that.
time.
Right? Because you can be there, but not there.
But not there. Exactly.
Exactly. With all the things that you have going through your head and everything else that you're focusing on. And I love that. And I think it's part of the balance conversation that we're talking about. What are you currently balancing at the moment in your life? What are some of the things that you're actively involved in?
Well, a lot of things. I mean, there's I just launched my online store. It's almost 2 months now, and it's doing so well. And my gratitude is to 98% of my customers on my online store is women or are women. And the store is doing like magnificently well. And it's due to all these women that are supporting and buying and staying on the store. My blog, of course, also just that have supported, looked at my blog, hopped on my content. So there's that, and it also motivates me to keep going, to keep creating the content, and to keep writing. What else? And then there's the sit down. I'm so passionate about the sit down, and I think the sit down was really born out of my own curiosity, and along with just exploring my curiosity around all these things that make up who Olwethu is, from being a parent to career, to wellness, to what I call womanomics, which is our finances and how we participate in the economy as women, to relationships, to reading, because I love reading. So we got a segment called Book Club. So all these things, I culminated and put them together into this podcast called The Sit Down. And that's also what what I'm busy with and balancing right now. And also trying to balance my own personal health and wellness journey. After my second child, I had postpartum depression. So it's trying to stay clear of depression as much as I can. My mental health is so important to me. My relationship with my husband and my children is very important to me. My sanity and peace is very important to me, because I cannot pour from an empty cup. I cannot give what I don't have. And for me, and my finances. And I always say, all these things are forms of self-care. Finances is an aspect of self-care. And I remember when we had the conversation, I was like, dude, saving, balancing that as well. Income, putting money away, that's a form of self-care. Pay yourself first. It's an aspect of self-care that we should never take for granted. So that's all the things I'm kind of balancing right now.
I love that line, and I think I'm going to use it a lot. So if you follow Velocity Club, or you're part of our community and you attend our other sessions, you know that we're always preaching saving, financial freedom, being financially healthy, and looking after your finances so they can look after you.
Absolutely.
Because at the end of the day, that's what needs to happen at the end of the cause or your goals or whatever you aspire to be. And guys, I actually coined this from Olwethu, and I stole it from her. And I said, saving is really self-care, right? Because you're taking care of your future self.
Absolutely.
You're taking care of who you are at the moment, which is something that we believe is very important as well. So please keep the questions and the comments coming. We will weave them into the conversation. And I particularly like the question about what inspired you to start your online store. And I'll tell you why the online store question really excites me today. But what did inspire you to start the store?
I used to get a lot of DMs, questions asking me, where did you buy this? Where did you get this? Where did you, Olwethu, where did you buy this? And I have to respond to all these people individually, and you get 50 DMs and 100 comments, and you're responding to all of them. And I remember having the conversation with my husband. I still want more children, still negotiating. But I'm like, when you have a child and the products that it's so hard to find the right products. It took me 3 children to find exactly what kind of breast pump I actually like. It took me 3 children to know what kind of cot is convenient versus which one looks aesthetically pleasing. So I'm like, if I can help a woman out there navigate this without having to filter through the noise too much, let me do it in this form and this manner. So everything that I have on my online store, from these pants I'm wearing to this kimono I'm wearing, you'll find that on my online store. And that's really why I love what I do. It's stuff that I believe in. I like authentically, I use them, I wear them, and I believe in them, and it's quality products. That's why I started the online store.
There's guys, please keep the comments coming, keep the thoughts coming. You're a phenomenal woman.
Thank you.
You are, and that's what the crowd is saying as well. That's what our attendees are saying. They love who you are and what you're doing as well, which I think is great. And they want to know, how are you able to balance all of this? Is there a secret recipe that we can all follow? Is there something specific that you do every day that really helps you zone in and get those things done?
Start the morning right. So for me, and it happens differently for everyone, you need to find your own template. My day doesn't start right if my husband doesn't bring me my cup of coffee in the morning, first of all. And that's like my small little moment of, okay, cool, everything's going to be fine. So he brings me a cup of coffee in the morning, and then there's a little bit of a workout. We work out together. Most times he flakes out on me, but it's fine. We work out, and then go have breakfast, shower, and then I start my day, sort of my work day. And I love mixing it up. So no 2 days are the same, because I get bored very easily. I also get very out of focus if it's not like creative stuff. I love doing creative stuff and constantly creating. So I've just hired my husband, actually, past 2 months now. So he works for me, and he kind of maintains the business side of who I am and my brand and my work. And I just focus on the creating and the ideas and the ideation and going crazy there. So he really has helped to be able to say, okay, this is why this makes business sense and why this doesn't. Which brings me to, how do I balance things? I delegate. So delegating is very important. So au pair for the children. So they've got a tutor/au pair to be able to help them through their homeschooling. I learned that doing everything myself completely ripped me apart in the first few weeks of this lockdown. When we went into lockdown, I did, the timetables. I was doing the homeschooling and then rushing to get my emails done and then going and cooking. I was like, no, completely wore myself out. So we got somebody in to do that. And then we've got a stay-in nanny. So she helps us with the cooking and the tidying up and the cleaning. And then there's a particular app that I absolutely love called Sweep South. So get somebody in at least once a week to help our nanny to clean and tidy up, etc. So she's not overwhelmed and overworked. And also I learned to relax a little bit more. I'm very pedantic. I am completely OCD A-type, where I'm just cleaning and tidying all the time. I learned to relax more on that and to allow things to just be, allow the toys to lie around the house a lot more, maybe not 7 days a week, but a lot more. But yeah, I think I have learned the art of delegating.
Wow. Keep the questions coming, guys, as well as the comments. Thank you for engaging. And this is about you. So I'll definitely weave it into the conversation and ask Olwethu what you would like to know. So I don't know what you heard from that segment, but I think what was highlighted to me was that you don't have to do it all to get it all done.
Absolutely.
Right?
I love to say you can have it all, just not all at once.
That's my grandmother's favorite quote, by the way, that you can't have it all at once, but you can certainly have it all. And it's about prioritizing.
Absolutely.
It's about realizing what's important now. And I think something you've highlighted as well, especially for the ladies, it's about delegating and being fine with not physically doing it all by yourself or being at all the places all at once, as long as the outcome is what it should be.
And you build your trust. you build trust in people by delegating as well. I had to learn to let go of myself and to trust people more, to trust those around me more. There's a reason why God places family around you. There's a reason why God places certain people around you. Trust them, allow them to also just feel like they're needed and loved and appreciated. And also with delegating and with that trust, you need to learn to appreciate and say thank you. And yeah, I think those are things that I've had to learn over the years, to build on, work on that trust issue. Sometimes it's also just therapy, guys, will help you to just work on that trust issue and those issues of just letting go of things and allowing other people to help you in your journey.
That's such an interesting and fresh perspective for me, that delegating is not only about what you are trying to get out of other people, but it's giving them an opportunity to add value.
Absolutely.
So look at that. So you're thinking, I don't want to burden anyone. I don't want anybody to be thinking, I can't do this on my own. But that's an opportunity for them, them being family, them being a husband who makes you coffee every morning. And I'm going to take that question last that I picked up here, because I'm sure a lot of people are wondering. And the question was, Olwethu, you married very young.
Yes.
How did you know your husband was the one?
I get this question quite a lot. And I tell the story all the time. I was just like, this guy, I don't know what you want from me. And he said these words to me, which was just like, I'll marry you. He said, I don't know like what we're doing, but let's give it a try. And at least we'll know where we're going with this. But I'd rather leave you a better person than I found you. So give me a chance to leave you a better person than I found you. And it was at that very moment where I was just like, who leaves a person a better person than they found them?
Wow.
I'm gonna marry this guy. And I think he didn't lie. He's kept the same energy. And I am a better person than he found me. And I'd like to think that I made him a better person than I found him.
All about value.
It's all about adding value.
Right?
Hey?
Add value, guys, and be prepared to add value, even if you're not going to get anything out. But and I think you do that throughout your work. Whatever you're doing, whether it's inspiring mothers, whether it's speaking to people, doing a blog, you're constantly adding value in different areas of people's lives and also inspiring them. Speaking about the chat that we had with Olwethu as well, you spoke about being financially excluded, right?
Yes.
And if there's one thing that we at Velocity Club try to do is inspire people to manage their finances better. Not because we think that money is everything, but we understand that it definitely does help a lot with your goals and the things that you want to achieve. So that whether it's traveling or it's starting a family, somehow all these things are linked to you being financially well. So when you spoke about being financially excluded, I actually asked myself, how has this influenced how you think about money, or rather how you view money in your life?
Sure, a lot. I mean, the process of being financially excluded also too, and I think my parents at the time were also just like, it's just another hurdle. And it hurts because I was in, when you're that middle income kind of group, but also going through school, having been in these affluent schools, and you watch all your friends do what they want to do, go, study the course that they want to study, graduate and do well for themselves, or at least it looks that way then. It kicks you in the gut, just that feeling of, I shouldn't be working to be able to pay for my studies. The other kids their parents are paying for their studies and they're living their best varsity lives. They're going to Hatfield Square on a Friday whilst I'm going to Mainland to go work at Urban. So I think, for me, it was, as I grew up, I was like, I never want my children to be my retirement plan.
Wow.
I never want to put my children in that position or that feeling ever again. I also remember being in high school, and there was a particular incident that happened where my mom wasn't really big on working. She worked in corporate for a little bit of time as a PA, as a secretary, and then she'd dabble in and out of the corporate space, but she wasn't always in corporate. She really had a love and a focus on raising us at home. And I got called out of class, And I went to the principal's office. The principal said, well, here's a letter from your parents. Your dad hasn't paid school fees. Your parents have to come pick you up from school. And I remember, that feeling, the embarrassment of that moment. I was like, I never want my children to ever feel like that, ever. And that then started I think it was the beginning of my journey of wanting more, and not just earning more, but being able to enable myself to maneuver through difficult situations. My mother-in-law has a particular philosophy and something that she loves to say is that whether you're up here, how nali chelete or usanali chelete, she loves to say, I'm Xhosa, by the way, but how nali chelete or usanali chelete, but or uwile, but like how you are, what your situation is. People must never know when you have money or you don't have money. Live a consistent life. And my husband and I live by that. Live consistently. Be the same person. And this comes through when you know where your money is. You know how your money is invested. You know where you've put money aside. And I think the lesson came into practice and into practicality more than ever during this time of COVID-19 and the lockdown and income streams being affected. And it felt good. It was stressful, but it felt good for my husband and I to still be able to afford certain luxuries for the children or certain things for the children and be able to still maintain their lifestyles, because firstly, we didn't create certain expectations that were outside of what we could afford pre all of this.
You maintain the consistency, right?
We were still able to maintain the consistency because we knew where our income is. We knew where we were putting money away. We knew where to tap into should an emergency arise. Except for that TV that my child broke. But other than that, I think...
Was it Malik? Who is it?
Morgan. I think he was just having a bad day. But other than that, that saving for me and putting money aside and investing is so important. And also knowing, and I still have that glimpse of when my mom had to pick me up from school and her calling my dad and saying, "Haibo, and he was like, I thought I was going to handle it. And just the disappointment in her. And for me, it was, I don't want to not know what our financial standing is as a family or in our home. And I think, as women, we need to take more responsibility. And as married women, take more responsibility over the finances, get a better hold of our finances at home. It's extremely important for me.
Wow. I see the comments, guys, particularly about the statement you made about, I don't want my kids to be my retirement plan. And I said, because I felt it, right? Because we come from a generation where children were the retirement plan. The plan was to give the little you have to the next one, and then hopefully they can give back. But we haven't grown, unfortunately, the way we should, because it's always going back, right? It's always going back, never forward. It's always focusing on dreams that were meant to happen as opposed to your own. And a lot of people are also commenting about that's my prayer as well. So I definitely relate to that. And guys, I think it's all our prayers, but where do we start? Absolutely. That's the most important thing. Or how do we start?
The little. I think I wish I'd learned this when I was younger, when I first got into varsity and got my first job and got my first promoter's job. Like putting aside as little as 100 Rand each month goes a long way. And just putting it and locking it away and, creating that emergency fund or that savings fund or buying some shares, it goes a long way. I don't think I can emphasize enough about how even a 50 Rand put away impacts your life. And the memory comes to me when my grandmother passed away. She had a little sock that she would take money. So every time we'd go to my grandmother's house, my parents would leave us at my grandmother's house in Uitenhage with groceries and would give my grandmother cash. And that's like school holiday groceries. And my grandmother had cash. And now imagine my grandmother had 7 granddaughters, right? All with children. And I think on average it was 3 children per daughter. So she had 7 daughters and on average 3 grandchildren each. Now all of them are bringing groceries and money. So she doesn't really need to buy groceries, right, for these school holidays now that they've dropped us off and all the cousins were all there. So she'd take this money, roll it up, put it inside a sock, into her cupboard. And when she passed away, like this was all this like money. And you take for granted just how much nectar adds up. That little bit of nectar, it really does add up. And for me, I just always imagine that as an analogy to, that was her little bit of saying, here's my little legacy that I leave you. Here's my little bit of money that I leave you. And that money was enough to really cover the funeral expenses and buy inkomo, igusha, and the slaughtering at her funeral. So it was such a sweet analogy to use to say nectar really does add up.
I always find it so interesting that our grandmothers and mothers were able to do so much with so little. It went a long way. It went a way of taking people to school, still looking after the cattle and the household, and then you ask yourself, what really went wrong in between or in the next generations, where we have a lot more, but it doesn't really seem like we do as much or even equal. And guys, sometimes, like I said before, and I love the fact that Olwethu mentioned that the important part is to start, right? And to know that with whatever little you have, you can actually start. But sometimes people are not sure how or where or how to do that. And that's why Velocity Club has a financial health checkup, which takes you a few minutes to complete. And what it does is it asks you a few questions about your finances. And then the results give you an idea of what are the opportunities that are there, or what are the gaps that you can actually fill in order to start fixing it, to start somewhere with the little that you have. So please take a few minutes to complete that. It's definitely worthwhile. And it feeds into knowing how financially healthy you are at that moment. Not only that, but the people who do decide to complete the financial checkup stand a chance of winning one of Olwethu's online store vouchers. So some of you were asking, what inspired her store? I've seen a lot of things that I like. Completing that financial checkup actually gives you an opportunity to get a voucher to spend on Olwethu's online shop to the value of 500 Rand. So make sure you're completing the financial checkup during the webinar or after the webinar, as long as it's in the course of the day. Good luck. I saw a question that I also wanted to ask, right, about finances, since we're on this topic. And it says, what are some of the mistakes that you made? And maybe adding on to that, what would you have done differently to a young person starting out, maybe at the age of 20?
Some of the financial mistakes that I've made. Taking out loans with no plan. Taking out loans with no plan. You know, when you're just like, I remember I took out a loan and had no means of paying back this loan, but it was offered to me, so I took it. And also another financial mistake was delaying on paying off my debt. So remember, I was financially excluded. Doesn't mean that I don't have to pay this debt back now, right? So I still had that debt, even though I was financially excluded. And I mean, I still went on to do a BCom, but I had all this debt that had piled up. And now stepping into marriage, I had to now open up to my husband on some, kind of have this debt. What does it mean for us? What does it mean? I mean, guys, there's no one more frugal than my husband. Married to a CA to the core.
I was about to say, please tell them what your husband does.
There's no one more frugal than that man. And a cent to him is a lot of money. And he's the person that always instills nectar adds up. So, he sat me down and was just like, okay, I'm not gonna give you the money. Obviously, I'm not gonna give you, but here's a plan on how to manage this debt. And then I had to learn the art of negotiating, the art of planning out, the art of going back to each of the debtors that I had and saying, this is my plan. Don't blacklist me. This is the plan that I have to be able to pay you off over a certain period of time. And then now, how do I make sure that I have the means to pay all that back by a certain amount of time? So then it informs also, I can't wake up tomorrow and decide I'm going to quit my job, right? So because I've made this commitment. So it starts informing certain things that I can't wake up tomorrow and decide I'm going to quit my job. These things they're not sorted out by emotions and feelings alone. There's certain other considerations that you need to make in your life that are not how you feel in your job or in your workplace. And there's certain responsibilities that you have. So yeah, I think those are certain decisions that financial mistakes that I made, and also I think linked to that is, and it's not a woman issue alone, but it's a lot of women go through this. We're very emotional when it comes to money issues, career, life, and these things are tied in together. So as we make decisions over our finances, how we negotiate our salaries, another big one, mistakes always happen here. Once really took a job without negotiating or pushing back and ended up in the, like, you're not happy because you were scared to negotiate. It's not on feelings alone. We need to really put aside the feeling and focus on how much value am I putting in here? How much value am I getting out? Is it worth it? How do I negotiate?
Failing to plan is planning to fail, right? And Olwethu started with saying, well, I took out loans, but I didn't have a plan. And this is why I always emphasize the importance of planning. Think about everything.
Absolutely.
And you're landing it home when you say every cent matters. It's easy to collect if you just do it a little at a time. So definitely have a plan for anything that you do. I think what we normally do with clients is that whenever there's a financial decision to be made, the first question we ask is why? Why are you doing this? What is the plan? Is there an end goal? And once you start answering those questions, you may find that maybe that sports car isn't really that important right now. Maybe I should do something else. So maybe property is the place I should go, depending on the plan, of course, and what you want to do. So there's a number of facets to you. I don't even know where to go because there's so much. But definitely one question I have is, guys, you can keep your questions coming through as well, and we'll land them. One question I have is, what is the one purpose, or rather the golden thread, that runs through all these things that Olwethu does? What is driving her, and what is that core purpose in which you're actually planting everything from?
Women. I'm so passionate about women. I am, like, for me, and we've seen it during once again, the lockdown and this pandemic. Which countries have dealt with the pandemic the best? The countries that are led by women. Guys, women have a magic to them. There's an absolute beautiful magic when women, Black women, Indian women, colored women, all of it, like when we're all in a room together and when we all conversate, there's a magic, there's a beauty, there's just this beautiful togetherness, because we understand what it is to raise children, to have children. Even when we don't have children, you like immersed, you become a mom, you become an aunt. There's a beauty and just a magic to women. And what I love about the countries that have vied better during this pandemic, that are led by women, in the particular story of the Prime Minister of Iceland, I think it is, if I'm correct, I think Iceland. She closed everything. She closed the country down, but she kept kindergartens and nursery schools open. Because why? Majority of healthcare workers, majority of the workers that needed to get into the healthcare space and needed to be workers within the during this pandemic were what? Women. Women that have children. And also in these nursery schools and kindergartens and play and play groups, if I can call it that. I'm using these words very loosely, but it's kindergarten. You get the vibe. We know that it's one of the best sanitized, clean areas because it's children and babies. Now, if we had a president who thought like that in our country, who thought, if our regulation around like preschools and nurseries were tighter and were better, women need to return into the workforce during a pandemic. Majority of our healthcare workers, nurses, doctors, first responders, what is it called? The priority workers are women. Would we not secure places such as that and make sure that they're safe for the children so that the moms can return to work? Now we live in a country where a woman and a mother has to decide whether they go to work or stay at home with the children and look after the children, which I think is largely unfair. That's why my work and everything I do is always woman-centered. Like, how does it benefit the woman? How does a woman take anything out of this? How does a child and a baby take anything out of this? From my work as a doula, to my blog, to the sit down, to blog Art of Superwoman, to womanomics, woman, and the beneficiaries, the secondary beneficiaries, children and babies.
No, I definitely agree with you. I definitely agree with your first statement about where there's women, there's magic, right? And I was fortunate enough to host a webinar earlier in the week with some phenomenal women. And all I wished was that I was there physically.
Yeah.
Because I felt like the presence,
Yeah.
as they spoke and shared their stories and the wisdom and the power, I was like, gosh, if physical events were still a thing, the energy in this room
such a vibe
right now, it would definitely be a vibe. So I completely agree with you there. You're obsessed about women. That's beautiful. And I love how you simplified it. Didn't complicate, I want to do A, B, C. It's, I want a better women. I want better for women, which is also very important. How important would you say it is to actually have something like that, a purpose in everything that you do? So to someone who's overwhelmed at the moment and sort of like, I'm trying to do a bit of this and that, I'm not sure if it's working out. How important would you say having a purpose, a core purpose that is simplified, is important in whatever you do?
It's important, but I don't want to put too much emphasis and pressure on discovering it right now. It happens to people at a different stage in their lives. I matured very fast. I grew up very fast. I just knew what I wanted to do, but I then worked towards, what does it mean? Like, who's it for? How do I cultivate it? How do I better myself to be able to do it, to fulfill it? And once again, it's also resources. You need resources to sometimes fulfill a certain purpose. I know now I don't have, I don't have to do everything to be able to get, I mean, I'm not going to say yes to every single person that's offering me money if it's not tied to my vision. So that's why it's very important to have a vision, have a purpose, and tie it into, and always tie it, don't make it time-based. Don't pressure yourself into, now I need to figure it out. And no, but just know that it's there. Like, it's a framework. You understand? Like, paint the picture. You'll figure it out as you go along, what details are there. But don't get pressured by figure out your life, know where you're going. No. It will slowly come to you as you maneuver through your life. And also, as guys, money, savings, putting money aside, being able to have a bigger picture, the little things then start working out for you when you have the bigger picture. And it's easier to get there when you also financially, you know what your goals are. It's so much easier to maneuver, hey, when the chankura is there. That's why I'm so passionate about women. Because with women, we know what the bigger picture is, right? We want to get the kids through school. We want to be able to live comfortable lives, because like good life looks amazing on women. We want to be able to drive a comfortable car, or like a nice car. You want to live in a comfortable home. You want to make sure your parents or the people that you look after are comfortable. Take care of your health. Take care of yourself. Put money aside for yourself. Pay yourself first. In order to then, as you do this, that bigger picture becomes clearer. As you do this, as you practice the self-care, that bigger picture becomes clearer. And also, one thing that I want to demystify, Andy, is this idea that self-care is selfish. I've been posting a lot about this lately, because a lot of women are feeling as if self-care, when I look after myself, and this idea of self-care is so selfish. It's not. Self-care is, you can't pour from an empty cup. You cannot give what you don't have. And I posted something this past week, is that you end up being needy when you don't look after yourself, because you feel like people owe you something. When you start looking after yourself and you start preserving yourself and preserving yourself mentally, physically, financially, you start not being needy of other people. And now they're driving a flashy car. When you know that you said no to this person that was borrowing money because they didn't have a plan as to how they were going to pay it back, that is self-care. So look after yourself, and everything, the bigger picture will become clearer. The small little things will become clear. The goals, the objectives, and the vision becomes clearer.
Self-care is love. I'm loving that comment. And I think we as women are slowly but surely beginning to understand that it's not being selfish. I think also because in the way that we were raised and the environment, it said sacrifice. It said give up. It said you
Absolutely.
had to come back from school and you had the chores while other people were able to focus on their homework, for example. So I think we grew up with that. And it's
Yeah.
sometimes very difficult and challenging to be like, hold up, let me actually focus on myself.
Absolutely.
I'm equally as important as well.
Absolutely.
So there was a comment about how, Olwethu, you're really inspiring me in terms of being a mom. There's people who already have children who are learning a lot from you. There's people who are new moms who are learning a lot. And the question that we have here is, are you thinking of starting an NPO for mothers or anything to that result? So I guess they want more from you.
Well, there is, I mean, digital doula is already there. I've got digital doula. This is where I share my resources, but this is more focused on pregnant women, pregnant mothers. One thing that I'm also very passionate about is the first 100 days of a baby's life are the most important days of their life. So from conception right through to when they're about 2 years old are extremely important milestones in a child's life. So what does this mean now? Moms need to be taken care of. Nutrition, moms. Earning, moms. Sanity, moms. We need to be able to look after moms in that sense, and also for moms to preserve themselves around during that time, and to earn and to be somewhat comfortable, practically comfortable. So there's digital doula for that, and then I still have my Red Wings project. Red Wings project started off as we would collect and distribute sanitary pads, and also get a lot of donors to donate sanitary pads. We had a good system going, and we were lobbying for the tax removal of sanitary pads, which has happened a few years ago. But we now changed the model slightly to be, we work with a few NGOs that already exist around young girl children. So the long-term goal for Red Wings project is really to just empower the young girl child in terms of development, career development, and being able to channel resources to needy young girls and young women. And hope, where there's hope, people actually are able to get out of their circumstances when there's hope. When young people lose hope, it all goes pear-shaped. And it's easier to instill hope in younger women and to help them and channel them into the right direction over a longer period of time. And then there's womanomics. Womanomics is not necessarily an NPO, but our big focus is also speaking to corporates and getting corporates to get their womanomics up. And what is your succession planning? How are you funding women-owned businesses? How are you procuring from women? How are you booking Andy more for your hosting gigs?
Yeah. How are you?
Yeah, like is Andy paid market standards? Are you closing the gender? Are you closing the gender pay gap? What is the work that you're doing as a corporate? So these are my women-centered projects that I'm working on. And yeah, I'm very proud to also work with a lot of partners, allies. Womanomics has fabulous people on our panel that also help us to be able to get the vision going.
Awesome. Shout out to Lerato. She knows why. I'm going to ask this question. She's like, please ask my questions. What are your guilty pleasures, and what are some of the things that you spend on that you don't compromise on at all?
Okay. Skincare. I do not compromise on my skincare. I love my skincare. I love my skincare routine. Guilty pleasures. What are my guilty pleasures? I think international travel, is it a guilty pleasure? I don't know. I don't think I'm guilty anymore of it. But yeah, my husband and I love traveling internationally now with the kids as well in the past 2 years. And I love pampering myself. There used to be guilty pleasures. I've learned also to stop feeling so guilty about the things that give me pleasure and bring me bliss, and to start like taking them in as my daily routine. Yeah, going and doing my nails whilst having a glass of bubbly and laughing with the girls at the salon used to be I feel bad because
Another vibe.
I left the children at home. Oh my gosh. But it started becoming no, man, I deserve this. This is like, this is it. This is life. This is why we work so hard, to be able to take these kind of breaks and to be able to immerse ourselves into things that we love. And now nice long hot baths. Love those. Oh, I think actually wigs. Those might be my like really, really guilty pleasure, buying wigs. Some wigs I don't even wear. They just look pretty. I think buying wigs might be a guilty pleasure. Actually,
they look good. I'm gonna ask this as well, and I'm glad somebody asked it because I always like to ask it. I think sometimes when you are achieving or successful, it may look all bliss and all glam, and I like to ask what are the downsides or what's challenging, what's really keeping you up at night. And I really love the way this individual posed the question, and she said that sometimes you wake up and you don't feel like doing it anymore. It's you are not okay and it's tough. What do you do on those days? What keeps you up and just snaps you back and says, Olwethu, keep going?
I think purpose. For me, it's like purpose. There's a bigger picture. I do get days. And so in the work that I do, I need to be both creative, business-minded, and there's also this, you need to balance the finances, you need to do this, you need to do that. And, delegating has really helped me to be able to also take away a little bit of what made me very depressed, right? Because I'd find myself getting so caught up in the business and the financial side of the things in my business that I needed to take care of, to a point where I wasn't feeding my bliss, which is the creative and the creating and creating ideas and new ideas and ideating. So I had to slowly learn how to get back to that. So now I sleep next to the guy that takes care of the business things. So I tell him, today I don't feel myself. I don't feel great. And I need to ideate. I need to get creative. I need to get out of the house, or I need to go for a walk. And I'm grateful that he understands it. So find that accountability partner or that person that you can share that with and say, there's something that's not feeding me. I'm not feeling great. Also, mindfulness is very important. Meditating, mindfulness, maybe prayer, maybe it's prayer for you or for the next person. I pray, I meditate, all those things to just get into a space of quietening your mind. And in quietening your mind, you then start sourcing, okay, where is this coming from? Why am I feeling unfulfilled or unhappy? And therapy, also talking to a stranger about people in your life that irritate you and annoy you, blissful. And situations and things that might annoy you or irritate you, blissful, because even that person will come from a place of, they're very impartial, so they'll tell you as it is. So those are sort of my ways of getting through days like that. What was the other question?
No, that was actually the question. Yes.
Yeah.
What do you do to snap out of it? Ladies, I don't know if it's just me, but I think we should host Olwethu for a Where to Find Husbands
Limpopo.
episode, because now you know. Because it seems like there's a lot in the partnership. There's a lot in you helping you guys balance each other, and you also offer each other support when you need to, and which I think is absolutely amazing. So another question that we have is, you obviously raising boys, right?
Yeah.
And we all know what's been happening in the media when it comes to men, and how what they are doing, or rather what they are not doing sometimes. And this mother wants to know, raising a boy child, what are some of the things that I can do as a mom to instill those values and to sort of change the narrative, maybe at an earlier stage rather than later?
That's a tough one, because I'm still figuring that out myself. I really, really, really don't know. But having observed, once again, my mother-in-law raised 4 boys. So what I've observed with her is accountability, no gender roles, and I mean, she holds her children very accountable. She loves, but does not call you out on your nonsense. You know, but she'll love you endlessly through it all. So that's what I think I had to learn. We need to call out the nonsense. We need to hold people accountable, but there's also an aspect of love. I'm a firm believer in doing things with a good heart, out of kindness and out of love. And it might not be the popular thing to do right now. It might not be the popular thing that must be heard right now, but we need to, I still feel like there's a place for kindness and for love in this world. I still feel like boys are firstly, they don't get held accountable. They don't get called out on their nonsense. They don't, you know, their gender roles are completely different from that of women. They get away with a lot. And then they're also neglected when it comes to kindness and love. Because then it's, boys don't cry. We must get over it. I think those are issues that we need, us as moms right now, we need to be able to address them now whilst these kids are young. And also make them understand that, yo, listen, I love you and all, but when stuff hits the fan or when, should you get a girl pregnant, you will do the taking care of this child. It's on you. If something happens, you will be held accountable. I'll be there for you. I'll have your back, but you must be held accountable. And I think we'll probably raise better boys if we do that. Not sure, but I'm hoping so. That's what I'm practicing.
We're certainly all hoping so. And I love that. I love that you put in so much work into motherhood and what mothers can learn and what's available out there. In the earlier webinar that we had in the week, one of the taglines that the ladies had was, let's normalize speaking about things that are not normally spoken about. And I think that we've been told that mothering is an instinct. So you'll just know what to do.
Oh, no, it's not. No, it's not.
You'll just figure it out. You'll know what to do. Just, I mean, fiddle and try. And the fact that you are so passionate about actually making it a conversation. Let's talk about what to do. Let's talk about what I'm doing and what has worked and what you have done. And let's share insights and let's bring it together. I think it's absolutely amazing and definitely inspiring. Guys, we're coming towards the end. I've put the financial checkup up again. So if you haven't completed it, you actually have a chance of completing it. So you can stand a chance of winning Olwethu's online voucher and grab yourself something nice to the value of 500 Rand. We're coming towards the end of the webinar. Time seriously flies when you're having fun. I think there's so much to talk about and so much to learn from you as well. What can we look forward to from Olwethu into the future?
I don't know. I really don't know. I think for me, I want to get more women onto the Art of Superwoman platform, onto the online store. More women-owned businesses, and that has been like one of the biggest core focuses. It's exciting that I think over 80% of the suppliers on our online store are women-owned businesses.
Wow.
South African women-owned businesses. That's exciting for me, and I want to grow that more. And I think also just womenomics. We're still going to be lobbying those corporates. More blogs. I'm not sure, hey? I think just living authentically and just trying to raise decent humans. I'm not sure really. I don't think there's a big thing in that's coming right now. But we're always hopeful. But we'll see.
and you will continue to pursue the cause, right?
Of course.
Which is a beautiful cause that I think all of us as women rally behind. But when you meet someone like yourself who's very vocal about it, because some of us may be too shy or too, I don't want to. But when you meet someone who's very vocal about it, who's strong in that this is what I want to do, and definitely I'm going to do it, and these are the different initiatives that I will take. So well done.
Thank you so much.
Comments are coming through. People are enjoying the conversation. I saw someone say that I've grabbed a colleague league to come and listen in with me. And now we're both watching. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us. And thank you for engaging and for asking us questions. Sadly, it's come to an end. But please do join us for other episodes on Momentum Velocity Club's Inside Scoop. If you'd like Velocity Club to partner with you for your success and for laying a strong foundation financially and for meeting those goals that you have, you can visit our website at velocityclub.co.za and leave your details, and we'll make sure that we keep in touch. Stay well and enjoy the rest of Women's Month, and we'll keep in touch and see you in the next episode.